I'm redesigning all 10 of the 2025 Formula 1 car liveries. 3 down, this is video 4 of 10. Today we're going to take a look at the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, no more RB nonsense. They've embraced the white base reminiscent of a certain Red Bull special edition livery from back in the day. Let's have a look at the real thing and come up with my own version. My name's Tommo, let's talk about it. Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, haven't you done well? I was hoping they'd go down this kind of direction eventually. How well that livery in 2021, Turkey, meant for Japan, but run in Turkey on the Red Bull car, the white bull, one of my favourite F1 liveries of all time, 100%. Absolutely adore the way that car looks, and clearly they've seen that and that was very well received and they've applied it to their junior team. Sponsor placement compared to last year is actually pretty similar. However, it's resulted in a very, very different car. And a big part of my issue with last year's Racing Bulls was that you had the silver, the reflective, right, which was called the chrome, should I say, an homage to the Toro Rosso days. But then you also had white on the car, and then the blue, and then the red, and it was just a little bit, it was a bit jarring at times. So you know what? They've gone simpler with this. They've kept to that white. We know that white with the Red Bull logos works. They've kept obviously positionally the same with that in terms of on the inlet above the driver and on the nose, very reminiscent, very identifiable as a Red Bull car for sure. And then we've got the blue elements, you know, dotted around wherever it's on the front wing end plates, obviously the Visa on the side, and the blue is coming from Visa being a title sponsor, and that is their brand colour, and it's kind of been implemented every now and then. And you've got the blue at the back I'm not so sure about, to be honest, with the kind of, and I said this about Mercedes, right, with their silver arrow pattern towards the back. That's just something that, generally speaking, I'm not a massive fan of. It's just not my cup of tea. I can see why it's there, I can see the job it's doing from a design point of view, but it's just not what I would elect to go for. Okay, it's a bit messy if you ask me, and I don't love the integration of it here. Maybe something a bit more just spiky and angular and less, again, fiddly with all the little balls, but I get why they've done it. Then, of course, you've also got Cash App, who are another one of the title sponsors, and they're green, which is in there, but only in there alongside the Cash App logo. Look, this is a very, very smart livery. I do really like it. If I had to critique it, which I will, is that there are a lot of colours going on. Okay, you've got the yellow and red from the Red Bull, you've got obviously the red from the Honda as well, you've got the blue from the Visa, you've got the green from the Cash App, all on a white base, which again, if it was anything but white, I guess white or black you can get away with lots of colours. I wish the blue was better implemented. When you look at the driver's suits, actually, I think the suits are really smart, and they're white and blue as like the two kind of main colours, and then the secondary colour there is the green, and the Red Bull in full colour, the yellow and the red on this livery. And I'm not sure if I agree with that decision. I've gone down a slightly different route. Let me just say, I've got 3 main colours going on in my livery, whereas on this you've got white, blue, red, yellow and green. You've got 5 vying for attention. I've toned it down to 3, and we'll see if mine's any better. This is really nice. I do really like it all in all. This is my favourite of the 4 we've looked at so far. So my list right now is Racing Bulls, then who was my last video? Mercedes, and then Haas, and then Ferrari, stone dead last still. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the real Racing Bulls. But what about my version? How can I take this and make it better, or maybe just different? Well, here's my redesign of the 2025 Racing Bulls Formula 1 car. So, what do you think? So those 3 main colours I was talking about are white, blue and green. More reflective of the driver's suits, drop in the red and the yellow from the Red Bull branding. Look, there's enough Red Bull branding in Formula 1, and you've got one of the top teams in Formula 1 Red Bull branded. So I'm happy to go a bit more, again, vintage Toro Rosso-esque. More blue here, but also white out the Red Bull logo on that. I mean, that Red Bull logo placement on top of the inlet up here is so iconic. Like, I have to keep that there. Big Red Bull on the rear wing with the Cash App as well. The real thing's great, but I also think this is great. I'm backing it again, okay? Let's start with the side profile. So Visa big on the side, kind of overlapping with this kind of white and blue section here. I've kind of looked at the Haas last year, actually, when they had the oversized Haas on the side pod, and I really liked what they did last year with the Haas. And I've kind of thought, okay, that works here. A bit more of an abstract. It is kind of cutting off the logo a bit, but it's still super legible, if you ask me. In my opinion, that is clearly Visa. I always start with the left-hand side of the car. I guess maybe that's just because of the design template that I have, which orients everything that's on the right upside down, everything's on the left the correct way round. But I just feel like, yeah, I always start this side, and then trying to make that work, I had to move it around a little bit, but I still think, you know, that's still clearly Visa on the side. So I'm satisfied with that. Cash App location fairly similar there. Put it on the rear wing, put it here as well. I've basically, the green is still only there when it's Cash App, apart from on the number and these little bits on the rear view mirrors. But yeah, Cash App I've kind of put in quite a bit because I really want it to sing as a, again, like on the overalls where you've got the blue and the white are quite equally weighted on the overalls, and then the green is definitely that secondary colour. But it's on there enough. It's on the rear wing, it's on the side plates of the rear wing, it's up there, it's here, about and everywhere, right? I'm happy with that. I've also taken, like, Hugo is red, which obviously does somewhat match with the Red Bull in the real thing, but where I've taken that out, I've just put Hugo in all black. I'm sure they're not totally happy about it, but never mind. AlphaTauri. Now, AlphaTauri are actually on Max's Red Bull cap this year, because obviously Red Bull own AlphaTauri. They're not going to name the team after it anymore. And maybe this is a bit confusing, but I feel like, why can't we put AlphaTauri on here? You know, let's promote AlphaTauri. It's still a clothing line. It still exists in its own outside of the Formula One team. So I was like, why not? We'll slap it on there. There's a nice little place for it there. Honda obviously won't be massively happy, Honda, that their logo isn't in their red, but they've still got a good prominent position there. And I've dropped the HRC off the side because I just don't think it really adds much. It's not very legible on the side either. Honda Formula Dreamstudent.com on there. Got all the similar elements around the halo with Visa, Cash App, Bosch, lovely jubbly, happy days. And we come down to the front. Again, the Hugo is in place, and I have done it over. I know I don't typically like doing this, but I felt it kind of worked in this instance, putting the Hugo over to wing vane elements with the Cash App as per. And I put the HRC just down here at on the tip of the nose with the more simplified Racing Bulls logo, because you typically see the full lockup Racing Bulls, whereas Visa and then Cash App underneath. But actually, like, I've got a big Visa here, I've got two big Cash Apps here and a Cash App there. You know what, let's just simplify it. Legibility of the Cash App underneath and the Visa is going to be really difficult, so let's just maximize, rather than just using it out of principle, let's maximize the location. The Cash App, I've gone for the vertical lockup of Cash App here. I think it fits this front wing end plate space better. Tudor on the side, and instead of up there. So I've moved a few sponsors around, but I've tried to keep the weighting of the sponsors as close to the real thing as possible. And again, instead of the big Visa Cash App RB lockup here, I've just had Cash App and Visa just on their own as individual logos there, because I just think that's a better implementation of those brands. From the front on, it's pretty blue. It's pretty blue. Again, Toro Rosso hark back, but makes sense with Visa being a title sponsor and blue is their colour. The real thing's sick, and this is quite different to the real thing. I think I've done a good job with this as well. I do. I back myself, people. All right, you got to back yourself. And sometimes I do these liveries and then I think, oh, they're a bit mid, to be honest, because it's like I'm time pressed. I want to get these ones done and out to you, as quickly as efficiently as possible. I'm pretty happy with how I've been doing it. I think this is a really smart interpretation of the Racing Bulls. But what I think doesn't really matter, does it? It's about what you think. So please let me know in the comments down below. Pinned comment as well. Original versus TOMMO'S. Where does your vote go? Which one do you prefer? Do you like how I've done it? Do you like how they've done it? I'm not going to win this one because the real one is banging, and I don't expect to win this one. But I think this is a nice alternative perspective on what maybe they could have done. 4 liveries out of 10 done. Next, Sauber. Drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.